Hi everybody! Welcome to Wednesdays, again with me at Move Create Practice. So today, as promised, we're going to look more into the toes and maybe more specifically um, looking into how the toes relate to the ankles, to the hip joints, and maybe even up to your neck. So why don't we start in standing and just feel how if you have a grip on the floor or not, or you just feel more like you're just standing on your feet, you're just placed on your feet lightly. What is your experience standing right now? Yeah. Do you notice your toes when you stand? Is your weight more forward on your toes or more on the back of your heel or heels? Is it more over the arch? How do you feel, the weight distribution over your feet? And then just go for a walk around. See how your feet are carrying you. How do you breathe? And is there any specific angle of your eye line? Do you tend to look forward? Do you tend to look around, look down, look up? Yeah. And then just stop wherever you are. And can you look downwards towards your feet? And then take your time and look at something above you, like a bird flying in the sky, maybe towards your ceiling, up along your wall. And then look down, and then look up a few times, and see how you do that. So why would we be doing that if we're going to be exploring our toes, our ankles? So notice if there's any weight shift over your feet as you are looking up and looking down. Does the weight shift front to back towards the toes at some point, towards the heels? Or do you feel that there's nothing really significant that happens underneath your feet, that you look up and down more from your trunk? But is there any movement in your hip joints as you look up and down? So, great. Let's come onto the floor. And before you lie on your back, we did this a few lessons ago, and you're just going to stand over your two knees. So your pelvis is not on your heels, but you're actually standing over your knees and have your knees comfortably spread. And hopefully, if you have knees that are a bit irritated, then you can just do this in standing. Because all we're going to do is we're going to, as if you're going to sit backwards towards your heels, you're going to do that bending in the hips a bit, allowing them to just like release. And you just do that with a little small, quick motion, poof, and then you come back up. So you can do this in standing if you can't stand on your knees, if it's not comfortable, but if you can, then you're on your knees and you let go in your hip, in your two hips again, two hip joints, breaking in the hips softly and then coming up. And notice how clear the ball and socket joints of your hips are. How clear is the location of your hips, the bending, the point of bending. Or actually, I like to think of the thigh, the head of the femur, the head of the thigh bone is rolling in the hip joint. And what does your pelvis do? Does it also tilt forward so that you would bend in the hips backwards? Yeah. Lovely. So just seeing if there's one hip that's clearer, that you feel like, oh yeah, one hip it just seems a bit clearer, that I know what I'm doing more in that hip. Great. So once you've tested that out, oops, sorry about that. Hey Joe. Joe, let me see if I can mute. Sorry, so I think we can all just come and lie on our backs. Yeah, for a minute. And just feel your floor. I'm just going to see what's going on with the other camera. So just lie on your backs and feel how your okay, thank you. So we're on our backs. Sorry about that. And just feel how you notice the length of your legs, your arms, your spine. Where do you feel your legs begin? Where do you feel your hip joints? And you don't have to be very accurate, but it's more to get in touch with how you feel your hip joints. Yeah. So please bend your knees and stand your 2 feet. So the soles of your feet are standing on the floor. And just notice the amount of contact you have behind your back. Which places seem to be touching, which places are raised. And just take some time. I don't like to say take a few breaths, because maybe that will encourage some people to actually work hard at the breathing, but just let yourself settle. Let your breathing come to its own rhythm. Feel how with the places of contact behind your pelvis, over the sacrum, and then feel how much of your lower back might be touching the floor, or if you just sense that your lower back is not touching, but it's lower towards the floor than when your legs were long. Notice into which ribs you might be leaning into. So you have both feet standing at the moment. Yeah. And then just noticing how the 2 shoulders are making contact with the floor. Feel that curve of your neck or behind your neck, and the place behind your head on which you're resting. So just get a general picture of your contact, the contact of your back with the floor, with your feet standing. And then now with your right foot, can you start lifting the front of your right foot? So you would say it's flexing in your ankle, so that you lean more onto your right heel, and then you lift the toes, the the ball of your right foot away from the floor, and then put it down. So again, if I would show with my hand, I would be lifting the toes, and the ball of the foot up, leaning more onto the right heel and then placing the front of the foot down. So just doing that a few times. Yeah, and can you make this movement smooth again, very round in the hip joints? Round in the ankle joint. Yeah. And you probably will feel that something is happening in your right hip joint as you do this. Are you folding more in your right hip joint? Or is it opening? And then start to lift your heel so that you actually lean more onto the balls of your feet, onto your toes, and we're still with the right foot. So lift the right heel and then see what does that do to your right hip joint. How does that feel? And then can you begin to alternate? So you lift once the front of the foot and then lift once the heel. So lifting once the front of the foot and once the heel. And see if you can do this again in a rocking or rolling motion. So the weight, it rolls gradually from the heel to the front of the foot. And then when you lift the front of the foot, you lean more onto the heel, the right heel. And just continue to observe your breathing as you do this. Are there places where your breathing might halt? And just see, can you not disturb the rhythm, the music of your breathing as you are making this movement of lifting the front of your right foot and then the heel. And as you do this, what happens to your contact with the floor? Are there places where you might notice that the weight is rolling a bit as well? So feel how the weight might be shifting behind the pelvis, over the sacrum. Sometimes is it that the weight would shift more downwards towards your tailbone and then upwards to the top of the sacrum towards your lower back? Is the weight shifting in that direction or these two directions, up and down, over your sacrum? Or does the weight shift a little bit from left to right over the back of your pelvis, over your sacrum, as you move your right foot, lifting the toes and then lifting the heel? Yeah. And how does this affect the space underneath your neck, the point of leaning behind your head? And you can make this movement small, very tiny, so that you can really, you just have a small range to attend to, so that can be really smooth and fluid. And can you enjoy just noticing how the rest of yourself actually moves as you shift over the right foot, lifting the heel and lifting the toes of the right foot. Great. And then let your legs go long and just sense any differences that might have emerged, might have been produced by making this movement. Any first impressions? So, seeing that when you can be a bit quieter, if these changes, they rather float up to your attention, rather than you having to go in and search for them. So, stand your left foot on the floor and keep your right leg long. And with the right leg long, can you turn the leg to parallel, which means that the toes of your right foot will face upwards to the ceiling. So having your right leg long and parallel with the toes towards the ceiling, can you begin to extend the ankle and then flex the ankle? So when I say flex the ankle, it means to pull the toe side upwards towards the direction of your shin, towards your head, so that there would be sort of a 90-degree angle in your right ankle. And then to extend the ankle, I mean your toes would go away from your head. They would go downwards. And that's what I mean by extending the ankle. Flexing the ankle and extending the ankle. And you can do this leaning over your right heel. And then notice what that does to your neck, your head, the weight behind your pelvis or the weight over your pelvis. How does the contact behind your whole back change? And it seems like with just this movement of rolling over your right heel, extending and then flexing the right ankle, that this moves your whole body. Mm. And then try the other way, which is just to keep your heel a bit light so your heel slides a bit on the floor as you flex the ankle and then extend the ankle. And again, making this easy for you, making it so that the sensation of this movement is clear for you. Maybe sometimes you want to do some more powerful movements that you can really feel, oh, I am flexing my ankle and now I am extending my ankle. Yeah. Or sometimes you want to go really small just to make sure that it's very fluid, that the movement is almost absent of any resistance, any glitches. And what do you feel in your right knee, in your right hip joint as you do this? Okay, and then let that go. You can have your left leg long again. And for those who find it difficult to have, or not so comfortable having your legs long to rest, then you can always rest with your feet standing. Yeah. So again, a reminder that we're here to learn more about ourselves and our own needs and our own capabilities. And we don't need to be doing the standard, what works for everyone else. We're here to figure out what is smooth and elegant, beautiful for us for us individually. And so then we can be creative in finding our own way and not just copying, yeah, what we see in other people or what we think works for others. But no, we're looking for what works for us. So, can you stand both feet again? So your knees are bent, standing on both feet again, and just let your right lower leg dangle. So your right foot is going to be lifted off the floor, and have your right knee angled comfortably so that you can have the whole right leg just dangling, resting in the air, and the lower leg is not lifted, but you let it hang down. And then again, bend, flex, and extend the right ankle. Making it easy. And notice just this movement of the ankle is not just the movement of the right ankle, that you'll feel that it moves your thigh and your right hip joint in some way. It might even shift the weight behind your pelvis and affect the way you lean into your ribs, the back of your head. Yeah. And as you do this movement of bending and extending the right ankle, do you also feel that in one direction of your foot, that it actually helps you bend more, fold more into your right hip joint? And folding means that you feel that the right knee comes easier towards or wishes to come towards your chest. So I repeat, as you flex and extend the right ankle, at a certain direction does your right knee seem to want to come closer up to your chest, bend closer to your chest. And allow yourself to use less effort, finding the pathway of ease. And all the while, allowing the most important movement, your breathing, be on vacation mode, unhindered. And of course, we don't need to be perfect at that either. But it's always nice to have an eye on our breathing as you flex and extend the ankle. Yeah. Great. And then stand your right foot on the floor and just feel if there's any difference. So now both feet are standing on the floor, and just notice, is there any noticeable difference, sensation of how the right foot is, how you sense the right foot, how it's supporting your right leg compared to the left foot, how it stands and supports the left leg. And then last time, can you raise your right foot in the air, but this time can you have, instead of having your lower leg dangling, have the right lower leg parallel to the floor and ceiling so that the ankle would be parallel to your knee at the same height as your right knee. And then keeping your lower leg parallel like this. See if you can find a restful place for your right knee so that you're comfortable in the right hip joint, and then begin again. You can go slowly at first to just bend, so flex and extend the right ankle. Bring the toes towards the shin and then the toes away. And again, what does this do to your right hip joint? And always allowing yourself to make this movement easier. What keeps you interested, curious? Is it keeping your breathing free? Is it finding small angles, changing the angles of how you flex and extend the ankle so that you can really find smoothness the whole way? Or are you constantly interested in how this affects you, the back of your neck, how your spine is moving on the floor, how the weight shifts over the spine, the ribs on the floor, behind your pelvis? Okay, and then take another rest. Let that go. Rest with your legs long. And sense again what has changed about the right ankle, the right leg. Do you simply have a better sensory picture, sensory sort of image of the right leg or the right side compared to your left side right now? And then bend your knees and stand your feet. And with the right foot, can you now start to just bend your right toes back, keeping the balls of the feet on the floor, and then curl your right toes under and alternate between these two directions, bending so let's say flexing the toes of your right foot backwards and then curling your right toes under, and see what this does to your ankle, your right hip joint, And feel how when you curl the toes under, that makes you actually flex in the ankle. So the angle at the front of the front of your foot, or the top of your foot and your shin, it decreases as you curl the toes under. Yeah. And do you feel all 5 toes as you do this? Okay. So now, can you raise your right foot off of the floor again? Have your right knee bent a bit more up towards your chest. And then have the right foot at the same height as your right knee so that your right lower leg is parallel again. And can you just extend your ankle and then flex your ankle? And choose in one way to incorporate your toes. So maybe I can suggest that you curl your toes under as you extend the ankle, and then you flex the toes backwards as you flex in the ankle. So the toes would extend as the ankle extends, and then the toes will flex backwards as you flex your ankle backwards. Yeah. Toes curl under as you extend the ankle, as you elongate the top of your foot. And then as you shorten the top of your foot, you bring the front of the foot towards your shin, you also flex in your toes backwards. And just feel this movement. Yeah, becoming clearer about this movement. And then slowly notice how you breathe, how this might ripple or resonate into your right hip joint as you do this. And then now try the other way. And of course, if you need to stand your right foot on the floor for a second just to let the right leg rest a bit, you can always do that. But otherwise, try the other way. So you're going to keep your toes flexed backwards as you extend the ankle. And then as you flex in the ankle, then you're going to curl your toes under. And then you do that a few times. Yeah. Toes flex as the ankle extends. So as you bring the balls of the foot away from you, you flex your toes back. And then as you bring the front of the foot towards you, then you're going to curl the toes under. And just feel the awkwardness. Maybe it's a very unusual movement for you. And yeah, just try it out and see how it will get better over time as you learn to really feel exactly what you're doing with your right foot. So maybe to help you, just stand your right foot on the floor for a second. Yeah. So now, just raise your right foot off the floor and just let your right lower leg dangle. Yeah. And just bend the ankle backwards, flexing the right ankle and extending the right ankle. And again, feeling the roundness inside the ankle joint. Yeah. Great. So the bones of your foot and the tibia, they roll. There's some rolling and sliding between them. And just make that smooth. Don't care about what you do with the toes at the moment, yeah. So now, as you extend, try to curl your toes under now. Can you curl your toes under? Keep them curled under as you extend and then flex the right ankle. So the toes of your right foot continue to stay curled as you flex and extend the right ankle. And making this more and more familiar. Yeah. And so now, try to keep your toes flexed as you do this, as you extend and flex your ankle. So your toes will always stay flexed. Yeah, but the toes are bent backwards as you extend in the right ankle, as you bring the balls of your foot, the ball of your right foot away from you, and as you bring the ball of your foot up towards you, as you move the ankle, extending and flexing it, you keep the toes bent backwards and feel all 5 toes. Do you pay more attention to the big toe or more to the little toe? How about the 3 toes in between? Okay, and just stand your right foot on the floor for a second. Take a short pause. And then now, when you're ready, lift your right foot off the floor, have your right lower leg just dangling in the airs. And then as you extend the right ankle, can you curl the toes under? And as you flex the ankle, can you bend your toes backwards? And continue to alternate between these 2 directions. So the toes will always flex and curl under with the movement of flexing and extending your right ankle. So the ankle moves and the toes move, and then the toes move and then the ankle moves. Yeah. And then once you feel that that's getting pretty good, then can you try the other way, which is curling your toes under as you flex your ankle, and then as you extend the ankle, you flex your toes backwards. So in ballet, we would call this relevé, which is to be on your toes, the balls of your foot. So as you extend the ankle, then you can flex the toes backwards. As you flex in the ankle, then you curl the toes under. As you extend the ankle, the toes flex backwards. And as you flex your ankle backwards, you curl your toes under. I feel like it's a bit of a tongue twister. So once again, this is food for your brain. Okay, let that go. Let both legs be long. Notice how you feel on the right leg, the right side, in your toes, your ankles. Mm-hmm. Is there an amplification of sensations on your right leg, the joints of your right leg, your right foot? Yeah, how's the breathing again? Okay. So bend your knees and stand your feet. And with your and just lift the front of your right foot and then put it down, rock the weight to the toes of your right foot and then lift the right heel. And again, lift the front of the right foot and then lift the heel in a very smooth, rolling, rocking fashion. And notice if this got better after just the addition of the movement of your toes, curling under and flexing backwards. So please leave that. Keep both feet standing. And can you begin to lift the front of your left foot and then place it on the floor, and then just keep lifting the front of your left foot a few times so that you have time to understand through feeling what's happening behind your pelvis. Does your pelvis, we say, roll down? So does it affect your lower back in some way when you lift the front of your left foot? The toes, the ball of your left foot, what happens there? Does your lower back flatten? Do you roll upwards on your sacrum? Or does your lower back actually lift? And doing all of this with less effort. Yeah. Seeing what you can find in using less effort. And if that bugs you, if you need to, you can always use more effort and you can try different degrees of effort. Always, I go back to Feldenkrais saying how it's, flexibility, or what I've understood as flexibility from Feldenkrais and the Feldenkrais method is that it's the ability to do anything we want. Okay, knowing how to do what we want to do. So just leave that and lift the left heel a few times. And what's different when you lift the left heel? And do you see that when you lift your left heel, actually this means that you're extending, right, in the left ankle. Where are the places that you feel are smooth in this movement? And how do you place the left heel back down? And then as you keep breathing, just resting over your back, can you start alternating lifting your left toes, the front of your left foot, and then the left heel? Yeah. Great. And then, can you also start to curl the left toes under, and then start lifting the toes of your left foot away from the floor? So just flexing, so curling the toes under and then flexing your left toes backwards. Doing this a few times. Yeah. And again, if it helps to do this, to accompany the movement with your left hand, as well the fingers of your left hand, to clarify the movement for your left foot, feel free to do so. So every time you just find ways, this is the part about creativity, right? You find ways to help yourself become more and more precise about what you're doing, feeling what you're doing. Okay. And then let it go. Have both legs long. Take a rest. And sense the differences between, or sense what's changed on your left foot, the left ankle, the left hip joint. See, without paying attention to how the movement of your left foot was affecting your left hip joint, do you notice a difference back with both legs long? So stand your right foot on the floor and keep your left leg long and turn the toes of your left foot up to the ceiling so your left leg is parallel. And then with your left leg parallel, can you again lengthen, so extend the left ankle and then flex it backwards. And see if you can do this without your toes. Just letting your toes be a bit more passive so that you can really zoom in to the roundness of the movement in the left ankle. And are you rolling, consistently rolling over the left heel so that you feel the back of your head might roll a bit? The weight shifts over your sacrum so that you will be lifting your back a little bit and then lowering your lower back. Yeah. Or try as well to slide your left heel a bit down and away and then up towards you, and flexing your ankle to slide your left heel down and away, and then extending your left ankle as you slide the right heel towards you. And feel what that does. And how do you feel that movement in your left hip joint? Great. And always making it easy. There's so much to learn. There's the art of making things easy, isn't there? Yeah. And then take a rest. Let your right leg be long as well, so you have both legs long if you can. And just sense whatever you feel is different. And so it's quite nice to do these movements, which are smaller, micro. Some people would call them more micro movements. But I think when we start to appreciate all that 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 is incorporated or involved in one small movement, this appreciation, the degree of appreciation, I think, really is the key to becoming artistic or being artistic. It's valuing the greater picture of what we do and how we do things. So, okay, so bend both knees and stand both feet on the floor. And can you just lift your left foot off the floor and have your lower leg dangling again? And just bend, flexing the ankle back, and then extending the ankle, and then incorporate your toes. So your toes will move as you bend your ankle, flexing it, and then extending the left ankle. And you choose how you want to add on your toes or incorporate your toes. Do you bend everything backwards? So you bend the toes backwards. So flexing the toes backwards and then flexing the ankle and then curling the toes as you extend the ankle. Yeah. And then whatever you've been doing, can you do the opposite now? And take time for that. Take time to notice what it feels like to do the opposite thing. And so the opposite of my example just now would be to flex your ankle, the left ankle backwards as you curl the toes under. And then as you extend the ankle, you flex the toes backwards. So as you curl the toes under, you flex in the left ankle. As you flex the toes backwards, then you extend the left ankle. Yeah. So when you have the left ankle flexed and your toes curled, the image that comes to mind is like a falcon claw. Yeah. Or maybe you have another image for that. Maybe you have another image that helps you secure that. Okay. And then just stand your left foot on the floor. Feel how it is. Okay. And then raise your left foot off the floor and have your left foot at the same height as your left knee so that the left lower leg is parallel to the floor and ceiling. And then again, flex and extend your left ankle, incorporating your toes. And if you have any more, so you can do this without hurting yourself. You can use a bit more effort if that gives you a stronger sensation, or maybe using less effort will help you. But then see if you can begin to um, em- embrace more of yourself in your attention. What's happening in the left hip joint, the pelvis, the lower back, chest, neck, the back of your head, your breathing. But if that's too much, then you just flex and extend your left ankle, keeping the left lower leg parallel to the floor. You know, you are where you are today. How do you incorporate the toes with the direction of your left ankle? And then when you have a better grasp of that, then start playing with the opposite toe-ankle combination. And make sure that you can be relatively comfortable as you do this, that you're not straining. Maybe that's a good word. You're doing all this without straining. It's always a good reminder to breathe. Maybe that should be, I should have a banner on the screen that just constantly says, breathe. Great. And just stand your left foot on the floor, feel how it is. And then have your legs long again. And is there a noticeable change in the hip joints? Or do you just feel much more in your toes and your feet? Okay. Great. So stand your right foot once more. And let's play keeping your left leg long and turning the left leg to parallel so that the left toes are facing up to the ceiling. Can you again flex and extend your left ankle, but this time incorporating your toes as well? And just allow yourself to immerse into this movement. Yeah. What is it like to incorporate your toes with the flexing and extending of your left ankle? And now, can you keep your left ankle flexed so that your toes are pointing up to the ceiling-ish and wherever you can? And then now, just articulate the toes again. Just curl the toes under and then flex your toes backwards. Yeah, great. And then now, do the same thing, but with your left ankle extended. So your toes start far away from you, and then curl them under and flex them back. Good. And once you've done that, then again, go back to flexing and extending your ankle, and then incorporating the toes in this again, so that the toes change direction as your ankle will moves in the other moves in one direction. So your toes and your ankle constantly move. Yeah. I mean, that would also be quite a beautiful movement if you. So if you're up for playing, what came to mind was that as you flex your ankle, you can curl and flex your toes a few times. And then as you extend the ankle, you curl and flex your toes a few. Sorry, I'm just moving closer to the router. There, the connection is probably more stable here. Great. So let's maybe this way. So we left off at curling and extending the left toes as we slowly extend the ankle, and then as we slowly flex the ankle. We curl and uncurl the left toes a few times. Yeah, so many things to do with the feet. And then just rest for a moment. And then stand your left foot. And let's try a few things like that with your right foot. So then, with the left foot standing, keep your right leg long and turn the toes of your right foot up to the ceiling once again. And then keep your ankle flexed, the right ankle flexed, and then just curl and flex your toes back a few times, so alternating. Yeah. And then extend your right ankle and then curl and extend your toes on the right foot. Just getting clear how you're moving in the joints of your metatarsals. Great. And then as you keep curling and curling your right toes, the toes of your right foot, then you start flexing your right ankle backwards. And then once you can't flex anymore, then you just start extending the right ankle. Yeah. Getting clearer and clearer. Having fun with this. Yeah. Okay. Let that go. Stand both feet and just feel how your feet are in contact with the floor. And can you lift the front of your right foot off the floor and then lift your right heel. So you're rocking the weight between towards the toes so that you can lift the right heel, and then you rock more weight to the right heel, and then you can lift your toes and the ball of your right foot off the floor. And see how that is now. And then do the same thing with your left foot, lifting the front of the foot, then lifting the heel. So a bit of a rolling, rocking, teeter-totter. So there's always one part of your foot. Either the front part of your foot is on the floor or the heel is on the floor. And how does that feel? Do you feel more movement in the hip joint as well? And is there also more shift, or do you notice some more shift or actually behind your pelvis? Or does your pelvis lie a bit more quietly? And then do the same thing with both feet, lifting both fronts of the feet, both heels. And what does that do to your lower back, the height of your neck to the floor, the back of your head? And all the while breathing through this. And then can you lift one front of one foot as you lift the heel of the other foot, and then alternate this way. So one front of the foot will be off the floor as one heel is lifted from the floor. So one heel and one front of the foot will be lifted, and you alternate like that. And what does that do in your hip joints, in your pelvis? Yeah, great. So please roll through one side and come to stand on your knees again, like we did in the beginning. And standing on your knees, allow yourself to just break a bit, bend in the hip joints so that your pelvis goes a bit backwards, and just see how you are doing this movement. If it feels easier, that there's more oil in the hip joints and you actually feel the crease of of your hips easier. And then once you've tried that a few times, please come onto your feet. So come to stand. And yeah, just notice how you feel. What's different about the way you are in your feet, over your feet, on your feet, connected to the ground. And just continue to feel this sensation and then go walk around. See if this has changed the dynamics of your walk. What would you feel like doing with this feeling? Are you feeling more assured over your feet on the ground? Has this changed the way that you breathe and that you feel as you in standing? Then just stand wherever you are and then look down and look up again and see if that has also changed. Has that improved? Is the ability to look up, look down, maybe even look around, is that more understood as to how it relates to the movement of your toes, your ankles, your hip joints? Yeah. So just enjoy whatever you have experienced or are experiencing from this lesson, and I hope to share more with you. See if there's more interest with feet or if we should move on somewhere else, but always staying creative and curious to move more artfully as you. So thank you very much for your time, and yeah, leave your comments below if you have any questions or you simply just want to share your experience. It's always really fun to read. Uh, so yeah, have a great day, everyone.